interception or missile interception is a very costly affair, and there will be costs mounting on all sides. Have the US, the Israelis factored all of this in, along with the damage to their assets? These are all naval and other bases that are being attacked around the Gulf. And have they factored in, of course, the loss of life? Already 4 US soldiers have been martyred as far as this operation is concerned. I also want to go across to Charles joining us. Charles Kupchan is an international affairs expert. How do you read into all of the American statements that we've heard over the last 8 to 10 hours?
Well, I think the statements coming out from the Trump administration make it clear that they don't have a clear sense of an end game. I think the military part of this campaign is in some ways the easy part. They know what they're doing. They're going after leadership. They're going after the ballistic missiles. They're going after command and control. And right now, in some ways, we're in the most intense part of the campaign when the Iranians still have the ability to retaliate. They have chosen to retaliate against allies of the United States in the Gulf, in part because they think they can convince the Saudis, the Omanis, the Kuwaitis, the Emiratis to say to the United States, please stop. This is causing disruption to the oil flow. This is causing disruption to our ability to function economically. But in some ways, I think the reaction is going to be the opposite. You will see these countries turn against Iran and not put pressure on the United States to stop the conflict. And the question is, how long can the Iranians keep this up? How quickly can Israel and the United States eliminate the ballistic missiles? But then comes the hard part, and that is what happens the day after. Will the regime change its tune and the next group that leads it agree to work with the United States? Will the United States continue to bomb the regime until it falls and there is a natural uprising? As one of your guests was just saying, when you don't have ground troops to fight alongside the air power, it's very hard to topple a regime. So I don't think the Trump administration knows what the end game is. I do think, judging by what they did in Venezuela, what they seem to be doing in Cuba, the idea is to degrade the regime and end up with some remaining group of leaders that's willing to work with the United States, because pulling down that regime, toppling it, is too risky, as the United States found out in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Libya. But right now, I would say nobody knows where this conflict is going. Nobody knows how or when it will end.
Speaking of that resistance, let's also listen in to...
Welcome back. Let's shift our focus now to what we've seen, the claims that have been made the last few hours. A few US bases have been targeted in all of Middle East. Let's talk about some of these claims. The Erbil Air Base in Iraq has sustained significant damage, is what Iran has claimed. Also, the Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait. Kuwait, remember, also has been bearing the brunt of this conflict given the US infrastructure there. The US Fifth Fleet, Bahrain, there are claims being made, at least as per Iranian officials, that this one military installment has seen a lot of damage the last few hours. US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain is what we're talking about. Also, the Al Dhafra Air Base in UAE. Now, all of these, remember, military hubs of the United States are also in densely populated locations, is what has made the situation extremely worrying. The Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, another airbase that has been targeted by the Iranian forces. So that's what we're looking at the last couple of hours. I do want to bring in Adrian into the conversation very quickly, because we put out that post on Truth Social by Donald Trump. Adrian, what do you make of it, the kind of military muscle flexing? He says we're stocked up. Your thoughts on, the missile power that he's trying to show to the world as we speak?
Actually, Trump's assertion is easy to debunk, because one of the crucial missile systems which are used along the coast of the Persian Gulf to intercept Iranian missiles are Patriot interceptors. And we know that last year, Raytheon, the producer, built only 600 of these. So there is no huge stockpiles of patriots. And we know on the other hand that the Qatari probably had no more than 1,000 of such interceptors, and they will probably run out of it within the next few days.
Okay, Adrian, thank you for that. I do want to quickly go over to Greha. She's tracking several reactions for us on how the war in West Asia is also leading to a lot of politics here in India. Greha, over to you.
See, we have to talk about implications here in India particularly. A lot of politicking that is happening. Mr. Modi abdicating and not mentioning about the assassination of the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So I'm here in the newsroom. It's a live newsroom. Anand is right here discussing all the possibilities for his 12 p.m. slot. But right now, let me go to Pallavi and Aman. Aman and Pallavi there, having all the scoop as far as the political uproar is concerned. There's an op-ed that we've already been talking about of Sonia Gandhi in the papers today. So Pallavi, your assessment of the kind of opposition dynamics that are at play here attacking the Prime Minister yet again over
So Priya, my take is it's all about the politics. There are elections coming up in Kerala and Assam, and just to break down, around 30% of the population, the Muslim population in India is largely the Shias. So that is the vote bank that they are trying to target, clearly in Kerala, Assam, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat. So Congress's game plan is that. They're doing twin things. One, of course, is the fact that they are very much targeting the vote bank of the Muslims, which is what they want for the election. But second, also calling out the government for what they are calling a lopsided, not balanced foreign policy. If you look at Sonia Gandhi's editorial, if you also look at a statement which is issued, which is reposted by Rahul Gandhi and all of the Congress party, they are saying the silence of the government, of the Prime Minister on Iran is something which is not nice. It is something which the government should have been speaking about. You cannot take sides. And that's Priyanka Chaturvedi, Samajwadi Party, TMC, all of them, Griha, who have a stake in that particular vote bank are the ones who are criticizing the government.
But Aman, we will of course continue to talk about politicking that will happen from the opposition. But this key point that the opposition is making about how this is a stance far removed from the traditional stance that India has had vis-a-vis Iran.
We'll see, Griha, we have to see that in the context of also what is happening right now. India's top concern right now is the safety of Indians in the Gulf. You know, we have 8 to 9 million Indians living in the various countries of the Middle East. Our top priority is that. Or is our top priority condemning Khamenei's death? You know, that is the call I think the Indian government is taking here. We are in no means saying, in fact, the Foreign Minister of India, Mr. S. Jaishankar, had spoken to the Foreign Minister of Iran just before Khamenei's killing happened. So that is all, one point of the aspect. Other point is, was Khamenei so much, in our favor on past occasions, be it Article 370, be it on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, that be on the issue of the Citizenship Amendment Act protests at that time. Iran had issued statements which were not so, charitable towards India. In fact, we had to summon the Iranian envoy at that point of time. So there is a history also to this, but right now, I think Indian government's priority is to get back Indians stuck abroad. Already flights have started, and that is why you see the Prime Minister calling up all the regional parties, spoken to the President of UAE, King of Jordan. He's called up all these people and basically told them, please assure us the safety of Indians. So, and condemning the strikes of Iran on these countries. You have to differentiate also that while what the US has done, taking out the leader of a sovereign country, yes, many other countries have also not condemned it. You know, there are very limited countries who have condemned it. But on the other hand, the more important is India wants to show that, Iran attacking civilian targets in the Middle Eastern countries is something that India is condemning, and Mr. Modi has been very forthright about it.
Right, thank you so much for that, Aman and Pallavi, for that assessment. Some problem with the mic here, so I'll hand it over to my colleague Krutsveen in the studio as we take the broadcast forward.
Thank you for that, Greha. I do want to bring in Ambassador into the conversation because so much is going on in terms of how the world is reacting, Ambassador. But your thoughts on what really the end game could look like here? Nobody can already anticipate. I mean, that's a matter of fact. But just going by, posturing, going by the military muscle flexing that we're seeing, the kind of escalation we've seen so far, for how long do you think this is going to continue? And where does diplomacy, if at all, come into play? Do you think there's room for that left still?
My new book is coming out in July. The title is How Nations Fail. And one of the lines which I remember is when Cyrus the Great wanted to attack a Greek city. So he sent a message saying that you will be devastated if I attack you. There was only one word reply from that Greek city, I forget the name, if. And Cyrus retreated.
Yep.
Americans have made a huge mistake in not checking themselves and going ahead like a rampaging bull. Now, what rampaging bull does is unknown. The results are unknown. Sometimes rampaging bull itself gets, like matadors do, it gets killed. Now, so the results, the question that you ask, are a big unknown. And one of the reasons why, I may be wrong, there are three excellent strategic experts here with you, I may be wrong, but Israel's new move to attack parts of Lebanon is a sign of desperation. It is also a sign of diverting the internal attention, people's attention, by getting a quick few miles of Lebanon. I think there is nervousness all around. Iran is standing firm so far. Things could change. Rubio is sending out messages which again show not a position of strength,
The
but
hardest
a
blow
position
is yet
of
to come.
vacillation. So, in sum, to answer your question, I think America and Israel have blundered. They are now trying to find a way out, the diplomacy part, which Iran has refused to accept.
Absolutely, Ambassador. One word which is really, really a favorite of the President of the United States is capitulate. We have to, in fact, ask that question of America in this case if they are capitulating under the kind of resistance that Iran also is seeing. But like you have mentioned, we don't know which way is this headed. We'll continue to be tracking all the developments
Just
as far as
one
this
quick
escalation.
word.
Yes, sir.
I think Trump's mental thinking would be without evaporation if he stops eating McDonald's.
A lot of people here are going to be in agreement with that, is the sense I get of whatever little reactions we've been able to take. But let's see how this plays out. Strong statements at least being made so far by the Trump administration officials. That's all we could pack for you. Our gentlemen, our experts continue to stay on with us on the broadcast. We head into a short break. Our rolling coverage continues on the other side.
Speaking of that resistance, let's also listen in to take a look at this breaking updates that's coming in. US has now intercepted an Iranian drone which was targeting American base in northern Iraq. So as we've been telling you, Iran has been opening up a lot of fronts. So even Iraq, places like Kuwait, they've not been spared. There's been some sort of an attack in Cyprus as well, drawing in the British as well, who are resistant to joining this conflict. But these are visuals of the interception that is being done as an Iranian drone is targeting the base. But look at the amount of firepower you have to employ even to intercept a drone, which is why even drone interception or missile interception is a very costly affair, and there will be costs mounting on all sides. Have the US, the Israelis factored all of this in along with the damage to their assets? These are all naval and other bases that are being attacked around the Gulf. And have they factored in, of course, the loss of life? Already 4 US soldiers have been martyred as far as this operation is concerned. I also want to go across to Charles joining us. Charles Kupchan is an international affairs expert. How do you read into all of the American statements that we've heard over the last 8 to 10 hours?
Well, I think the statements coming out from the Trump administration make it clear that they don't have a clear sense of an end game. I think the military part of this campaign is in some ways the easy part. They know what they're doing. They're going after leadership. They're going after the ballistic missiles. They're going after command and control. And right now, in some ways, we're in the most intense part of the campaign when the Iranians still have the ability to retaliate. They have chosen to retaliate against allies of the United States in the Gulf, in part because they think they can convince the Saudis, the Omanis, the Kuwaitis, the Emiratis to say to the United States, please stop. This is causing disruption to the oil flow. This is causing disruption to our ability to function economically. But in some ways, I think the reaction is going to be the opposite. You will see these countries turn against Iran and not put pressure on the United States to stop the conflict. And the question is, how long can the Iranians keep this up? How quickly can Israel and the United States eliminate the ballistic missiles? But then comes the hard part, and that is what happens the day after. Will the regime change its tune and the next group that leads it agree to work with the United States? Will the United States continue to bomb the regime until it falls and there is a natural uprising? As one of your guests was just saying, when you don't have ground troops to fight alongside the air power, it's very hard to topple a regime. So
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome. We are inside the bunker with Tom Cooper, and we've got another Fauji joining us right inside. And this is as raw as it's going to get here as we try and quasi-create a bunker-like or a war room-like situation. The next 1 hour, viewers, we're not talking politics. We're purely talking tactical military strategy that both sides are going to employ. We've got Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni with us, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra. We've just said, Abhi Aajao, come and sit with us, and we've also pulled him inside the bunker with Tom Cooper. First up, a quick check of the headlines before we take the story forward here. West Asia enters its 4th day as Iran continues widespread missile and drone strikes across Gulf cities and at US-Israeli targets. US President Donald Trump issues fresh warning to Iran, says the United States is shocked and ready to win big. As the West Asia war intensifies, the Israel Defense Forces claim to strike Tehran's air defense personnel who were attempting to target Israeli forces. Iran claims to destroy the main command headquarters at the US base in Bahrain. High-resolution satellite images show clear damage at Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura oil refinery after Iranian one-way attack drones struck, or the kamikaze drone struck, triggering fires and a precautionary shutdown threatening global energy markets and prices. An Iraqi resistance group claims responsibility for a drone attack on a hotel housing US troops in Erbil, marking a fresh escalation and raising concerns over American force security. US Central Command says American forces have destroyed all 11 Iranian naval vessels in the Gulf of Oman as part of strikes, reducing Tehran's fleet to 0. 2 Iranian drones struck the US embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, sparking a small fire and minor damage. No major casualties reported. Trump warns of retaliation. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the war with Iran will be quick and decisive, not an endless conflict, asserting joint US-Israel strikes aim for swift, overwhelming military success. Israel hacked Tehran's traffic camera network using AI and surveillance data to track Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and senior officials, mapping guards' routines and coordinating with the CIA for targeted intelligence. Now, as the West Asia war enters its 4th day, Iran's strategy is focused on survival, rebuilding core capabilities, and, of course, maintaining deterrence through asymmetric escalation. Now, this is by hardening their missile cities, dispersing command centers, and also accepting initial damage. Tehran is preserving its second strike capability. It is actually stretching the United States and the Israeli resources, because they now have to guard all of the Middle East and the other countries and their defenses with missile salvos. Also, the Shahid 136 kamikaze drones are proving to be quite potent for the Iranians, and they are being used to deplete the interception capabilities. The cost of defense currently is far more expensive than the cost of offense, and Iran are playing this low-budget war very, very smartly. Let's try and quickly understand, viewers, before we get in Tom Cooper, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, and also Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni into this conversation, how this pans out. Why is it that Iran is able to try and impose a low-cost warfare budget? It's also because of its ballistic missiles, the kind of ballistic missiles that it has. So let's call up the graphics and try and understand how, with its missile technology, Iran has been able to really trouble the US and Israeli offense. Let's try and understand this very clearly. Now, the counteroffensive has shown that Iran has the firepower and targets in the region. Many of Iran's missile sites are in and around Tehran. There are at least 5 known underground missile sites and various provinces including Kermanshah, Semman, as well as near the Gulf region. Now, here is the strike radius of Iran's arsenal. First up, there is the Shahab 1, 300 kilometers, Fateh 102, 110, then the Shahab Fateh 313, that's 500 kilometers. Let's try and go to the next one. You have the Quds 1, 700 kilometers, Zulfikar Qiyam 1, that is also 800 kilometers range, Qadr is 380, 1000 kilometers, and Shahab 3, 1300 kilometers, Khyber Shakhan. This was used in that entire attempted pounding of the Israeli Prime Minister's office, 1450 kilometer range. Emad Khorramshahr, 2000 kilometers. So this is, and then finally you have the Sejul and the Somar cruise missile, that's at 2500 kilometers. The effectivity of this, and this is so far not yet confirmed. But Tom, weigh in and let's try and understand, where is it that Iran is actually placing its resources right now, its missile bases? And then let's take it from how are they able to attack Israel and what their strategy will be, how to use their missiles. Yes, over to you.
Primary Iranian missile bases were all, or used to be all, in western Iran, along the border to Iraq. Point is that these facilities, so let's say Tabriz, Sanandaj, Kermanshah, Ahvaz Abadan in the south, and so on. Behind them, there is a second line, Qom, Shiraz, Esfahan, and so on, Bandar Abbas. So, and then there are additional facilities for bigger, longer-ranged, heaviest missiles, which are liquid-fueled. So the point is the following. These facilities have been all either bombed out last year in June already, or not occupied now when the new Israeli strike came in. Or very few of them were really occupied. Why? But the Iranians have dispersed their forces. They've sent them into the ground, into the terrain around them. It took them 2 days to recover, to re-establish control over their force, what was left of it, after the initial strike. And this is now what they are doing since yesterday. They are conducting more or less an organized of counter-offensive, so to say, missile-wise. This is all run guerrilla style, which means they are moving constantly. They are moving from one hiding place to another, firing their missiles, and then moving again.
Okay. So they've got the ability. What kind of missiles are they using? So we've put that. Let's try and understand. Iran's IDF has said that they have destroyed some of their bases and some of their missile bases. What kind of missile bases have been destroyed in the last 24 hours?
So there is a particularly interesting take. This, for example, that there one can see 3.5 tons truck. This is a relatively small civilian truck.
Okay.
You see them by dozens, for example, on the streets of New Delhi. So this is carrying a missile with a range of 150 kilometers.
Missile with a range of 150 kilometers, so that will be somewhere around the short-range missiles or the Shahab 1.
Shahab 1 is a big missile. It's some 30 meters long.
Okay.
But you can see it here again. If if the editor could stop the take or return.
You just freeze it. Can you just freeze that part? I know it's a moving footage visual. Can we just freeze it when we see the truck? When we see the truck, if we will try and freeze it. The next one. After this, just when you see the truck, just freeze that footage if you can, please. We'll get that back. No, next. Just the previous one. We'll try and do it. We've got to freeze because he wants to show the length of the truck. It just looks like a normal truck. And just freezes.
So This is a small truck. Okay, this one is a little bit bigger because it has 3 axes. So it is probably a missile of some 300 kilometers range.
That's the Shahab one, or any of the Fatehs could be, or the Shahab.
Unlikely Shahab, but probably Fateh.
Fateh could be the Fateh missiles there.
And these 2 lines you can see here, they are holding tarpaulin over it, which means you can camouflage this vehicle to look exactly like a commercial civilian truck. And it's moving with the traffic around the Iranian cities, and nobody can find it.
Nobody can find it. And they can also, it also has the ability to launch itself from wherever.
Of course.
So they're like a mobile launcher?
Yes, it is a mobile launcher. At the pre-selected point, they must have thousands of pre-selected points because they had so much time to pre-select these points. It stops, removes the tarpaulin, rises the missile and fires, and then moves again.
There is a saying, Tom, in Hindi, which is called chor dimag. That means that you think like a thief. How do you use minimum resources and low cost and create maximum damage?
Yes.
And when you know that you're going to be surrounded by a powerful enemy, as a David would do, how do I use the sling? So General Kulkarni, this is very, very smart strategy by the Iranians. And this is not going to be easy for the Israelis and the Americans, despite their RAO-1s and the MQ-9 Reapers patrolling almost all of Iran and trying to scout and gather real-time intelligence. Your thoughts?
What happens is the air defense is never 100%. It's impossible to get 100%. Much that the Iron Dome may have catered for 90%. Going as high, the 12-day war, just tell them where the loopholes are. And the loopholes, because the kind of missiles that the Iranians have had and the kind of ability that the Iranians have been able to even equip Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis with the missiles that they have. Now in the weaponry that they have between 300 kilometers to going all the way to 2,000 kilometers, the Israelis also over a period of time have gone in for low cost technology. Those are the laser beams. Now those laser beams bring down hundreds of dollars of cost of missiles to strike down a drone or a missile. Now what would earlier be about $20,000 would now come down to as low as $5. Because the laser beams has a limited range, maybe between 20 kilometers, max going up to 50 kilometers, much less. But these other aircraft, therefore, everyone's got, all these technologies, innovations have to come fast. Israelis, the Iranians have over a period of time got a low cost technology. They are very highly equipped, but notwithstanding all that, the air defense, the Iron Dome that you talk about, 90%. You found in the 12-day war, 500 missiles were fired by Iran. 1,000 of those suicide drones fired. How many really went and hit? Say about 20 of them went and hit. But those 20 caused the damage was equivalent to about $5 to $10 billion in Iran. So all these swams and all these kind of things do insist on being able to hit. Because obviously...
But that's the thing, isn't it, Tom? That I can send 500 missiles. As defense, I have to intercept all 500. Correct. Because even if 10 land, they cause the kind of damage that totally change the psyche, saying, oh, your defense is penetrable.
Exactly. Even more so considering that this Israeli claim with 90% precision and so on, is simply not standing to proof over the time. Precisely last year in June, not to talk about, for example, Lebanon War 2006, when we have seen Hezbollah remaining capable of launching rockets and missiles at Israel for 6 weeks, or almost 6 weeks. So, and this is in small southern Lebanon. Now think about this huge Iran. How do they think they can suppress all the Iranian missile capabilities? That is beyond my capability to comprehend.
I would like to salute our DRDO and Akash Tir for the way they defended during Operation Sindoor, because we had 99.7% efficiency. Almost, and that's amazing, because at that time they sent the ballistics, they sent the JF-15s, they sent the loitering munitions and small cheap drones, and also the cruise missiles. They sent all that our way, 600 plus drones plus this, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, and we were able to defend it. So somewhere the calibration of this happening, is it also because the spread over Bharat is larger, that it was easier for us to defend, or it was tougher? How would you read that? Because Israel is a smaller country, the concentration is far, so 2 or 3 can actually sneak in from the defenses. Your thoughts?
Well, I am no defense expert. You have, and you yourself or extremely good at defense. But my rough reaction would be that the larger the space, more difficult to defend. So that much more credit to Indian armed forces and everyone involved, including DRDO. Now, as far as Israel and Iran issue is concerned, as General Kulkarni said, Iran had learned the lessons of 12-day war very well. They knew what exactly Iron Dome was doing and how it could be outmaneuvered. That is point one. There's another slightly different angle I want to introduce. You know, this war is also teaching our businessmen, not just Indian, but global businessmen, that nothing in the world is safe. It was supposed that Dubai is a safe haven and it is the best place to stay in because there's almost zero tax, everything is stable. Now, the recent events have proved that world is not flat. World is topsy-turvy. Dubai is no longer stable and may not be stable for a long time to come.
Right, absolutely. Your thoughts there? Quickly, you want to say?
I can only join these conclusions and then add something about the Indian air defense system. A lot of this success went to the army, which has developed several extremely effective systems to counter drones, electronic warfare systems, which means it was not only shooting them down, but it was causing them to crash. So this was part of the success. The other part of the success was this high availability of missiles. Akash system, for example, and not only Akash. Then there were modifications to Shilka systems, old Bofors guns. I mean, nobody is doing that. Almost everybody has abandoned air defenses by gun. India said, well, why should we throw away guns? They are good. We put electro-optical system on them and we shoot the drones with them. And 40mm cannon is much more effective against a UAV than a 23mm cannon. It's as simple as that.
So they use brains, also used what the legacy munitions
lots of
are.
costs.
Legacy munitions are, and use a 50 rupee or a 100 rupee, if I may say, bullet against a 2,000 rupee drone rather than using a 20,000 rupee shell against a 2,000 rupee drone. So, you know, in terms of cost effectivity, basically I'm just saying. Now, this is Iran's low cost, high impact strategy. Just quickly taking you through, viewers, asymmetric warfare and proxies. It uses proxy militia across the region to carry out low cost attacks. So that's what it does. Then it also says it forces the enemies to fight on multiple fronts. So the moment you force the enemy to fight on multiple fronts, you stretch them thin. Then there will be weaknesses and without direct large-scale conflict. Also, missile and drone strikes. It's quick missile and drone attacks on the US and Israeli targets, inflicted damage and also put psychological pressure while avoiding costly battles. And they hid their ballistics behind the old ones, the drones, and that's where the new ones sneak through behind, hiding behind. And we're going to ask Tom to explain that to us in a bit. Also targeting economic centers, attacks on key Gulf hubs like Dubai, Sharjah and Abu Dhabi. The aim is to shake investor confidence and pressure states supporting Israel and the US. Also widening this entire regional conflict and spreading the fight across Gulf countries and Iraq, because that raises the risks and costs for the opponents, complicating their military operations and also forcing them to think about, you know, waving the white flag or backing off. Economic resilience via black markets. It uses smuggling and also alternative trade routes to bypass sanctions and also sustain the war economy despite external pressure. And more importantly, targeting citizens and embassies abroad with proxies. Iran can then threaten or attack enemy nationals and then embassies overseas, generating domestic pressure in these opponent countries. So this becomes very smart strategy that they are using. But are you saying the US and the Israeli would not have gamed this? Let's try and understand, if you can explain to our viewers, Tom, and let's try and deep dive into this along with General Kulkarni. How is Iran planning this? See, Iran is one entity and it's got this entire region along with Israel to handle. So first up, where are they launching and how are they launching their attacks? Secondly, please cover and explain destruction of the Bahrain US airbase. How does it tactically hurt the Americans and the Israeli? How is Iran coordinating and planning this?
So how are they planning and coordinating? Basically, they are for dozens of years already, they are collecting intelligence. That means Iranian intelligence services, Savama, Ministry of Information has operatives, has even spies in Israel. We have seen last year a spate of arrests in Israel, including captains and majors who were directly working in Netanyahu's headquarters. That is the primary mean. They certainly have similar operatives, or let's call them agents if you like, in all the Gulf Arab states. And if not, at least they have locals who are paid to give them information. So that is the primary point. Then according to this, that is why there are so many missiles the Iranians have developed. They have developed one missile for this purpose, one missile for this purpose, ballistic missile. Okay, it's just
Call up the ballistic missiles there again so we can make the reference. Yeah, now, take us through how would they, if you were in Iran, you were in the IRGC, sorry, how would you plot this and how would you plan this? Yeah.
Well, how would I plan this? It's quite easy. I want to deny the enemy the bases in this area. Why? Because if the Americans cannot position their aircraft in Qatar, in Bahrain, in Kuwait, or in United Arab Emirates, then they have to fly from further away. The further away they fly, the less sorties they can undertake with the same number of aircraft. The more tankers they have. This is all making the entire affair of attack on Iran ever more expensive.
So the cost of war becomes expensive.
Exactly. This is why I'm also wondering, how do they want to put boots on the ground? Well, if they put them into Iraq, there is going to be a new civil war because the IGC controls half of the country. If they put them in Kuwait, they have to pass over Iraq, across Iraq. And if they put them anywhere into the Gulf Arab states, well, they have to swim over to reach Iran. From Pakistan, they can reach eastern Iran, which is sparsely populated, so there's not going to be much use. Anyway, correspondingly now, back to the IGC, how is it planning? For example, from Bushehr to Dammam, there is this and this distance. Correspondingly, we need a weapon which can cross this distance as quickly as possible. Because the faster the missile, the better, the less reaction time for the air defenses. This is how they are planning. Then they are planning, for example, they obtain intelligence on performance of Patriot. So they know, for example, when you want to defend, I draw this because
please draw it.
So let's say Patriot missile. When you position Patriot system here for ballistic missile defenses, it can see only a relatively narrow area. So let's now say, okay, you want to defeat this Patriot and hit something in Qatar nevertheless. You position your weapon here. Excuse me, a step back. You are shooting from here all the time, therefore the radar is positioned, is pointed in this direction. The Qataris react by pointing this radar in this direction. Then you suddenly hit Qatar from this direction. And Patriot is already unable to intercept.
Because the Patriot is blind, because they've moved there and
because the radar is pointed in one direction, you hit him from the side. This is one of the greatest weaknesses with air defenses. You can build your air defenses all along the coast and say, and I'm going to shoot down everything what comes out. And then somebody comes like this, and your air defenses are outflanked. So this is why I'm always so sincerely amazed by the performance of the Indian air defenses last year, because they didn't let this happen. Pakistanis have tried this as well, to hit from multiple entirely unexpected directions, combine different weaponry and so on and so on. Severe electronic warfare deployment, and still they didn't manage this.
They didn't manage the General Kulkarni and also Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, coming to you just quickly as we quickly try to also decode Iran's war strategy. Now, while being in a very heavily disadvantaged position, Iran still has a war strategy in place to try and hit back at the United States militarily. Now, in the first step, Iran plans to blind the US forces by hitting critical radar and command and control nodes. Then to achieve this, they would have to employ swarm drones and also short-range missiles to hit critical nodes in the US communication system. And what it hopes to achieve is to disable early warning systems of the US forces. In the second step, Iran plans to deplete US air defense systems by forcing it to use expensive missile batteries to counter the cheap drones. And how it plans to achieve this is by launching waves of inexpensive missiles at American bases and ships. Iran can then drain the US missile stocks and increase operational costs, weakening the air defense network over time. The third step, overwhelming the US air defense. Iran aims to breach air defense and strike critical targets. And this is how Iran aims to achieve this with larger high-speed or hypersonic missiles. Iran then aims to penetrate remaining defenses and hit strategic installations, maximizing damage. Would you agree with this strategy? Does this actually effectively work? How do the US military and the Israeli counter this? What's their option?
See, Anand, at the very outset, the Chinese have said they have not given any of these technologies to Iran. Iran probably may not have hypersonic at this point of time, may not have hypersonic, because hypersonic is very difficult for right now Iran to possess one. There would be a mix of cheap drones with precision drones. So you have even 100 drones fired which are cheap drones, and if there are just 2 precision drones, you will find the target. How would this swarm of drones? The enemy really doesn't know which out of them are cheap drones and which out of them are precision drones. The strike rate at any point of time cannot be 100%. It will be around 90-95%. There's always a chance for the Iranians, if they have huge stockpiles of these cheap and precision drones, to be able to hit the target. There is no denying the fact. The question is, all of them, both the adversaries, the Americans, the Israelis and the Iranians, would have exact GPS locations of each of these. So now it is on mobile. That means all these drones have to, and the entire missile have to fly from one end to the other end on wheels. Because if they are fixed, they will be targeted. It's only in the wheels that the survivability is much more. And therefore, Iran had the ability, but the kind of air supremacy that Israel has over Iran, now that's a real big thing, because they have just nothing that they can defend. Air defense of Iran is virtual zero. Air superiority of Israel, USA, 100% on them. But the fact is, they are at random now. Iranians can do anything at random. Nobody knows who it is. And therefore, there's a big, huge threat
with guerrilla warfare.
Israel as also to US.
Is the problem with...
General, that's what I'm calling guerrilla warfare with missiles. Because they are all the time moving, hiding, firing in between. And nobody knows where they're going to hit us next. Nobody knows where they're going to appear us next. Yes, sure, the Americans and Israelis are operating lots of UAVs over Iran and trying to find them and so on. And they are using artificial intelligence in order to predict, or in some cases follow the patterns in their movement in order to find out where they're hiding most of the times, in what directions are they moving. But that doesn't mean that the Iranians are stupid, as that they cannot outsmart artificial intelligence, because don't forget, the artificial intelligence is only as clever as the person who has programmed it.
Yes. The other thing is, have the Iranians used their proxies? Now, where all do you think their proxies will get active? Let's get into that conversation quickly. How would you, if you were sitting as part of the Epic Fury control room, Master Rajiv Dogra, how do you get Iran to heel? Because you've got control of their skies. You can go ahead and bombard them, but you don't know where their locations are. So how do you do that? Because one mobile truck with 2 missiles can launch from any corner and anywhere and cause disruption.
Well, very interesting discussion all around. Let me go back and remind you of a boxing match, one of the last boxing matches that Cassius Clay had. So someone asked him, how do you do it? He said, I'll sting like a bee. Iran is doing that.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Sting like a bee. It's floating like a butterfly, yes, you are absolutely right. But it is stinging like 100 bees. It has different solutions for different issues. And it is attacking the eyes, ears and stomach of America. By hitting at various bases, it is denying America the radar facilities, it is denying America the firing facilities, it is denying America even the replenishment facilities for its ships and aircraft.
Exactly.
So, Iran is very smartly, and I think that is what old civilizations are about, that they think smart and they act smart. So, Iran is doing exactly that. How long it can sustain it is a different question. Because, as I said repeatedly, I hope Trump and Netanyahu don't exercise the extreme option.
Okay, now you're the diplomat in the mix among the military historian and the Fauji. How would you react to what Zelensky is currently saying, that it will help if we can get a ceasefire with Russia? I will send drone defense experts.
You know, Zelensky
And this is on a day when Trump has called him, you know what? I'm just going to read that post of what Trump actually called him. But your thoughts, sir?
Zelensky, I think, is an unfortunate occurrence for Ukrainians because
unfortunate occurrence for Ukrainians.
This,
okay.
Yes.
Because the number of Ukrainians who have been sacrificed for a ceasefire which was available to him 3 years back.
Trump has called him P.T. Barnum. Trump has called him P.T. Barnum of Ukraine. That's what he's called Zelensky. And Zelensky is turning around and saying, I'm ready to help if you can get a ceasefire with Russia.
I mean, Zelensky is somebody who does not have politics, who has no strategy, no plan, nothing at all. He's just fighting for likes in the social media. And this is a statement perfectly in style of that. He's ignoring the fact that, for example, United Arab Emirates are in an alliance with Russia and with Israel. So he's now going to send Ukrainian experts and everything is going to be fine. It is not going to be fine, sorry. This is daydreaming, just like Trump's expectation that Iran is going to fold up in 2 days. Oh, so, excuse me, 3 days. 3 days special military operation. This is
all right. Are you able to see this on my phone, viewers? This is what we've got. Trump has actually put out on Truth Social, the United States munitions stockpiles have at the medium and upper medium grade never been higher or better. As was stated to me today, we have virtually unlimited supply of the weapons. Wars can be fought forever and very successfully using just 3 supplies, these supplies, which are better than other countries' finest arms. At the highest end, we have a good supply, but not where we want to be. Much additional grade weapons is stored for us in outlying countries. Sleepy Joe Biden spent much of his time and our country's money giving everything to P.T. Barnum, Zelensky of Ukraine, hundreds of billions of dollars worth. And while we gave so much of the super high end, all free, he's saying he didn't bother to replace it. Fortunately, I rebuilt the military in my first term and continue to do so. The United States is stocked and ready to win big. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Clearly, this whole talk of America running out of munitions and interceptors has got the Americans worried. Tom Cooper.
Yeah. Idiocracy at work, sorry for expression, really.
Oh, say it again?
Idiocracy at work, yes.
Idiocracy at work.
I call this idiocracy already for 2 years. Alone what is going on in Ukraine and not to talk about what is Trump doing. Because this is, you know, oh gosh, we now have a problem. Trump's reaction, oh, we don't have a problem, everything is fine. Then one day they are after the regime, not the next day, no, we are after nuclear facilities. The third day we are after
ballistic
oil facilities.
Missiles.
Then there's 4th-day ballistic missiles. I mean, perhaps they can decide what are they after. That would be for the start. But they don't care. These are people who have lost the connection to reality. They do not want to hear any kind of negative news. Their aides know, their secretaries, call them whatever you like, people surrounding them. They're surrounding themselves with people who know what they want to hear. And then
surrounding themselves with yes men. That's what you're trying to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, he contradicts himself in this statement. First, he says we have enormous supplies. Then he says Ukraine has taken away all our...
No, but he said about the high-end one. See, what he said is, and we'll see if we can call up that post on Truth Social anywhere on our wall, because there are 2 layers to it, sir. First, he says that our small to medium end, we have a huge stockpile, and they are better than the rest, but the really high end, that is what you have given off to the Ukrainians without having to try and replenish that stockpile. Now, what is he hinting at? Is he hinting at his hypersonics? Is he hinting at something else where he could hit some of these? Or is he looking at the bunker busters? What is he talking about?
Manufacturing this kind of highly sophisticated weapon, that takes so long. It takes 2 to 5 years to construct a chips factory in order to make such weapons possible. Then it takes another 2 or 3 years to make such weapons, because you have to cast all of these casings for the shells, actually warheads. Sorry. So this is nothing that you can do over the night. And for this, in order to increase production, you have to educate additional workers in order to expand your production. And nothing of this is happening in the United States. It's actually on the contrary. They are outsourcing ever more such production. So where does he want to now significantly increase production in these regards?
So the fire must match the fury if you want swift and decisive. The fire isn't matching the fury.
Right. We got another guest joining us in a bit, but we also have news coming through. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has held a phone conversation with the Iranian FM Syed Abbas Araghchi. China has supported Iran in safeguarding its sovereignty, security, territorial integrity and national dignity, and supports Iran in upholding its legitimate and lawful rights and interests. China has urged the US and Israel to immediately cease military operations and prevent further escalation of tensions and stop the conflict from spreading and engulfing the entire Middle East. Now, that's what they have said. Shay Bialik is also with us, UN Diplomacy and International Relations, Foreign Affairs, foreign expert, joining us from Israel. Shay, thank you for joining in. Your thoughts? There are many who believe Israel and America are running out of defense weapons and their supply chain is severely hindered because of the US bases in the Gulf countries being hammered by the Iranians.
Good morning. Thank you for having me with you. I really hoped it would be for other reasons, but I'm happy to be here. I'm a former service of the diplomatic, and today I'm mainly working in aid. And I hear the concern. I hear it in news outside of Israel, but I must say this is sadly not our first rodeo. We just been in war 6 months ago, which we were promised would be the last one for a long, long time. And the countries working together are very much equipped for whatever is coming. We just had yesterday many cargoes of weapons and aid coming in to help the army, the militaries in whatever necessary. So we are set to go.
Right. Let's try and game this quickly, Tom, if you can explain to our viewers. Sorry. Can Israel afford to fight all this war from Israel? Can Israel afford to continue to attack from Israel? I'll come over here. Now, if everything is landing in Israel, can Israel direct this war and US direct this war while Iran continues to pound these areas, the Gulf nations and the American bases there? Can Israel continue to attack from here, from a distance?
Yes, in particular, thanks to tanker support by US Air Force. Tankers are operating somewhere here. Means that Israeli Air Force can't continue. This is for the first time they have so many tankers. So it's easy for entire Israeli Air Force because all of their aircraft are equipped with inflated fueling. It is easy for all the Israeli aircraft to refuel and then go striking Iran. At least up to here. After that, it's going to be a little bit shaky unless the Americans and Israelis do manage to somehow suppress the Iranian air defenses over western Iran so much that they can move their tankers closer to the country.
Okay.
That would make things easier for Israelis. On the other hand, it does not mean that the Iranians cannot continue striking at Israel. On the contrary, if nothing else, the Iranians can continue doing that from eastern Iran or central Iran with longer-range missiles, which so far have been untouched.
They have not used it. Now, do we know where their bases are? Because, or will the pressure be on US and Israel to actually come and neutralize these bases so that the Iranians can't launch their long-range missiles and their cruise missiles from, say, central or eastern Iran?
Principally, yes, we know most important bases. Sorry, this is old. So most important bases are always next to bigger cities. For example, Esfahan. Esfahan. Then we have Shiraz. Bandar Abbas, Kerman is a big military base, Zahedan, Mashhad is meanwhile the second biggest city in Iran. And of course those in west, like Sanandaj, Desful, Khorramabad and Khorramshahr, which is here somewhere. So if they are not inside the cities, they are always some 15-20 kilometers or less or more, depending on local terrain, around these cities. Many of latest bases or newest bases are constructed under the ground. Some are stretching for kilometers under the ground.
Right.
And really deep under the ground. I'm talking here about 80 plus meters deep.
So the moment it's 80 plus meters, the bunker buster gets out of the equation. You'll have to have three bunker busters going one after the other.
And hit the same spot.
Hit the same spot. So that's the kind of precision that's required. Yeah.
What is then done instead is to target the entrances. Because this is blocking the entrances. And then you're going to see videos showing Israeli or American aircraft targeting bulldozers that are trying to open the entrances. This is going to appear sooner or later. So what happens?
Right.
In June last year, for example, let me show you now. Let's say this is a hill, and there is an underground base inside it. So in June last year, the Iranians have learned if we have the usual two entrances to such an underground base, the Israelis have it all too easy to target the entrances and then block them. Therefore, they have constructed everywhere the third and fourth entrance and exit, of course. So this is one of the points. This is why such bases
they're
are
also
very
learning
hard
very fast. They're also learning very fast. What we're going to do is we're going to shift the focus a little away from this region, but still in this region. When we come back, we're going to look about something that's brewing here and what is going to happen between this entity here, that's Saudi Arabia, and the entity there, that is Pakistan, who has actually said support to Iran, but they have a security arrangement with Saudi Arabia. That after the break. Stay with us.
Speaking of that resistance, let's also listen in to take a look at this breaking updates that's coming in. US has now intercepted an Iranian drone which was targeting American base in northern Iraq. So as we've been telling you, Iran has been opening up a lot of fronts. So even Iraq, places like Kuwait, they've not been spared. There's been some sort of an attack in Cyprus as well, drawing in the British as well, who are resistant to joining this conflict. But these are visuals of the interception that is being done as an Iranian drone is targeting the base. But look at the amount of firepower you have to employ even to intercept a drone, which is why even drone interception or missile interception is a very costly affair, and there will be costs mounting on all sides. Have the US, the Israelis factored all of this in along with the damage to their assets? These are all naval and other bases that are being attacked around the Gulf. And have they factored in, of course, the loss of life? Already 4 US soldiers have been martyred as far as this operation is concerned. I also want to go across to Charles joining us. Charles Kupchan is an international affairs expert. How do you read into all of the American statements that we've heard over the last 8 to 10 hours?
Well, I think the statements coming out from the Trump administration make it clear that they don't have a clear sense of an end game. I think the military part of this campaign is in some ways the easy part. They know what they're doing. They're going after leadership. They're going after the ballistic missiles. They're going after command and control. And right now, in some ways, we're in the most intense part of the campaign when the Iranians still have the ability to retaliate. They have chosen to retaliate against allies of the United States in the Gulf, in part because they think they can convince the Saudis, the Omanis, the Kuwaitis, the Emiratis to say to the United States, please stop. This is causing disruption to the oil flow. This is causing disruption to our ability to function economically. But in some ways, I think the reaction.
Back live on Inside the Bunker with Tom Cooper. We've got Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni also with us in the studio. Quickly taking you through where all Iran has actually hurt the Americans. They cleared out their bases outside other than essential personnel. But if you were to see, in Erbil, the airbase has been attacked. US security troops have been attacked because the proxies have been activated. Kuwait, the Ali Al Salem air base has been attacked. In Bahrain, the US 5th Fleet, so that they will get really affected because that entire base communications has been disrupted and demolished. That's what the Iranians are claiming. UAE, Al Darfa air base, Qatar, the Al Udeid air base All these air bases have been targeted by the Iranians because they have said that we are targeting the American installations from where they are mounting attacks on us, and it's not attack on the sovereign nations where US has these air bases. Will these nations buy this? And affecting or hitting these air bases, is this going to push the US assault back, Tom? Quick comment. Or would the US have already gamed this possibility?
Principally, these countries can't simply side an alliance, including Israel. And that is the biggest problem for them, on one hand. On the other hand, there is the issue of coordination between armed forces. Arguably, armed forces of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Emirates, Oman, and so on, they're all trained, in Saudi Arabia, of course, they're all trained in the United States, all flying US-made aircraft. Some are flying European aircraft as well, but generally their training is the same. The procedures are the same. Right. But there are lots of, and we have seen this over Kuwait yesterday, the 3 F-15 shot down. This is not enough. You have to coordinate the methods and additional procedures, so to say.
General Kulkarni?
See, what happens is, we must grant that the US would have defended its bases. There's no denying the fact.
Right.
But the fact that the Iranians have not just attacking the US bases, but they now started attacking the assets of these Arab states will create problem for Iran. The Iranians are Persians and they are Arabs. So they have a century-old
animosity
differences between the Arabs and the Persians. And hence, now the Iranians need to be careful. You start hitting the assets or created by the wealth of the Arabs,
right,
and denying them hereinafter prosperity. I think Iran might just be finding it very difficult because the Americans will support their bases. The Americans and the Israelis will support this West Asian nation.
Right.
And after the Abraham Accord, there is a sort of a peace between Israel and some amongst them. And therefore, Iran now needs to be careful not to target the Arabs anymore.
Right. We've got more news coming through. The news is that the Canadian embassy has shut down in Riyadh. So in Saudi Arabia, the embassy of Canada has shut down. They have closed due to security reasons. So clearly now the Saudis are thinking that this Iran will try and escalate it because they feel amid strikes, Canada has closed the embassy due to security reasons. So no emergency visas, nothing is going to be issued. People will want to go out. That's not happening. So jo jahan hai, wo wahin raho. In the sense that's the kind of message that's come in. But this also means that in Saudi Arabia, if you were to look at this region, Riyadh is not quite deep into Saudi Arabia. But despite that, if the Canadians are shutting down their embassy, Tom, what does that mean? Are we then expecting the Iranians to attack?
I consider this a routine measure. So Riyadh is here, and well within range of both Iranian UAVs and ballistic missiles. So I consider this as a cautionary security or safety measure from Canadians. I'm waiting to see what are the Americans going to do. Are they going to close their embassy as well or not? This is unlikely to happen, but who knows?
Now, if does that also mean that nations are now saying that there is a lot of heft that the Iranian military and firepower has, especially the ballistic missiles, that then doubles the pressure on the Americans and the Israeli that they have to neutralize their silos. If they are not able to kill their silos and also their dumps, the ammunition dumps or the missile storage facilities, and nip them in the bud, this is going to last quite long.
Of course, there is a lot of, on both sides, there is a lot of movement in the background at the diplomatic scene. On one hand, the Israelis in particular, but also Americans are trying to convince additional European allies, not only European, all the way to Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, to convince them to join, to create an alliance, and then now all are going to fight Iran on behalf of Israel, de facto, and the United States. On the other hand, the Iranians say, okay, come on over, we don't mind, we are going to fight all of you.
So in terms of psychologically,
it is, Iranians, is particularly IRGC, they are extremely stubborn. They're not going to give up just like that. They are going to fight and fight and fight. And even if they spend all of their ballistic missiles or all of these are destroyed, they are going to find other means to fight.
Okay, I just quickly wanted to ask you this. The proxies, where do you think the proxies are going to get active? Sorry. Where are the proxies going to hurt Yeah. Where are the proxies going to hurt?
So, firstly, have to zoom out a bit.
Yeah.
So here we are. Proxies, firstly we have the Houthis in this part of Yemen.
Yeah.
In this, they are holding this part of Yemen, the Houthis,
Houthis.
including the capital Sana'a and their own capital Sada. So they are going to, they have announced, was it now, that was 2 nights ago, that they are going to start striking Israel. Then we have the Hezbollah in southern Lebanon has already started attacking Israel.
Right.
So
then there is activity in Iraq also.
In Iraq, we have Kataib Hezbollah. They are holding something like this. They are actually something like Hezbollah Iraq. And they have their own UAVs and not ballistic missiles, but tactical rockets. So they can all add to the carnage. They are certainly going to start.
This is the Hezbollah.
Yeah.
This is the Houthis.
And he is Kataib Hezbollah.
Kataib Hezbollah. Okay. The Hamas have kept quiet so far because they are virtually reduced to rubble.
Look, Hamas is Sunni movement foremost, not Shia. Unlike, for example, Hezbollah.
So they will not
Houthis.
attack the Sunni nations.
So, well, it is not about attacking Sunni nations. It's about Hamas's foremost insurgency against Israeli occupation. So they don't have any kind of business in a clash between Israel and Iran.
Iran, okay. So these are the 3-4 proxies which are getting active in this region.
This is perfectly enough, I would say.
All right. So we got limited time. What we're going to do is, now this is what's happened. I told you when we come back from the break, we are going to try and refocus on another region, and that's this region. So let's come back here and understand what's happening here, especially with this nation, Pakistan. What's happened is India has, and Manoj Kumar Gupta getting this, Daniel Scheinman has also put us the map, that India is doing an exercise in this region and there is a NOTAM that's been issued in this region. So there is NOTAM that's issued here. What happens with the Pakistanis who are fighting over the Durand line? There is activity in Balochistan. They are supposed to send support for the Saudis and they are worried about this NOTAM. Yes, Tom Cooper and then General Kulkarni.
What happened? First, the Durand line itself. And before I speak on the Durand line, let's work on that. There is going to be electronic suppression. And this electronic suppression is going to cause problem to the IRGC also. Remember that there. Because much that now most of these people over there are going to be on their own. But talking about Pakistan and India and talking about Afghanistan and Pakistan, the Durand line, the 2,700 kilometers Durand line, 1,400 kilometers runs along Balochistan.
Correct.
And the rest of it is with Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Yeah.
We have a 900-kilometer line boundary of Balochistan with Iran.
Yeah, this is the Baloch boundary with Iran. Yeah, this is the Baloch. This is the Baloch one.
The Sistan Balochistan. And therefore, Balochistan has been logistically sustained from Iran. It is not being sustained from Pakistan. So Balochistan has a problem. That's the problem between Balochistan and Pakistan.
Balochistan, there is a major insurgency against Pakistan. And in Pakistan, there is the insurgency of the Pakistani Taliban.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then Pakistan is at war with the Taliban in Afghanistan, additionally. So Pakistan is right now at war, at least from their point of view, in this direction, and of course, they always hold a strong portion of their army along the border to India.
And now they are also supposed to airlift and send support towards Saudi Arabia and conduct, exercises here. Interesting that they are supporting Iran, but giving security collaboration with Saudi Arabia.
So, and promising bases if necessary to the United States.
It's a catch-22 situation. They don't know which side of theirs has now got to be covered because they've had very badly from Balochistan. They're having bad times with Tehrik-e-Taliban, Pakistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They are not happy. Saudi deal has put them in a fix with Iran. So Pakistan really doesn't know, and I'm sure America would want a pound of flesh from Pakistan.
Yeah, we've got this footage. This is where the India NOTAM area is, not so far away from Rahim Yar Khan. This is the NOTAM, that airspace reservation that's been announced by the Indian Air Force for a joint exercise. What do you think is the intent behind this, Tom?
Well, to run an exercise.
Yeah, but
and Pakistan, just to remind them that India is still here. It's as simple as that. Nobody wants to provoke. I mean, I know the Indian government, how it operates, or at least understand it. I do not say that I know it in person or something. But I understand the way it operates. And in this situation, it just remains Islamabad. Guys, we are watching what are you doing over there, and now we are going to run an exercise because we have the right to do so.
Yeah, and they're running an exercise in this portion here.
Yes.
In this portion, that's where the exercise is. The Pakistanis, meanwhile, are conducting sorties and exercises here.
Yeah.
They are getting active in this region.
Sorry.
Yeah. So they are conducting activity in this region. They are stretched here, they're stretched here, they're stretched here, they're stretched all over the place. There is also internal strife that is happening with the Shia population. What do you think is going to be the impact of this conflict on this nation and this region? Do you think there is going to be trouble in Balochistan? The Baloch are going to get...
Explain this way. Let's start with the start in Pakistan.
Okay.
Pakistan is broke.
Okay.
Bankrupt. Okay, and this is not since yesterday, but for some 50 years, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, at least. Okay. What was it? 24 IMF programs in Pakistan and something like that. Okay. Now, the newest invention, so to say, in Pakistan was to prompt the Chinese to invest and borrow $120 billion to Pakistan. So,
out of 195 countries in the world virtually, there are almost 45 countries which are sucked into this battle, with 32 in NATO, with 12 almost over here, and Afghanistan and Pakistan. So just these 45 countries involved today, in some way or the other.
One way or the other involved. So now Pakistan is broke. And they have this huge bill, and the Chinese want their money back. They say, hey, sorry, but we are not giving your money, our money to you just like that. So Pakistan depends on IMF, which means on Trump's agreement
USAID and
to
America.
let IMF pay Pakistan, give Pakistan money so it can pay back Chinese credits. So this is a silly situation. This in turn means Islamabad is going to do whatever brings money in order to stay liquid. And if the Saudis say, hey, hello, we are going to pay you 5, 10 or some whatever billions in order for you to send a brigade of armed forces, yes, they are going to do that. This is the point, and this is how they think and how they act.
But their nation's prime minister has endorsed support to Iran, and its nation's military is going to support and send military aircraft, including JF-17 and of course AWACS and maybe an oil tanker on top, to help the Saudis fight the Iranians. So the civilian government says we are with you, Iran. The military says we are going to fire at you, Iran. So that's what is the nature of Pakistan. Well, that's all we have time for packing in this edition of Inside the Bunker with Tom Cooper. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, thank you very, very much. And on that note, viewers, we're going to take a very, very short break. Stay with us.
Speaking of that resistance, let's also listen in to take a look at this breaking updates that's coming in. US has now intercepted an Iranian drone which was targeting American base in northern Iraq. So as we've been telling you, Iran has been opening up a lot of fronts. So even Iraq, places like Kuwait, they've not been spared. There's been some sort of an attack in Cyprus as well, drawing in the British as well, who are resistant to joining this conflict. But these are visuals of the interception that is being done as an Iranian drone is targeting the base. But look at the amount of firepower you have to employ even to intercept a drone, which is why even drone interception or missile interception is a very costly affair, and there will be costs mounting on all sides. Have the US, the Israelis factored all of this in along with the damage to their assets? These are all naval and other bases that are being attacked around the Gulf. And have they factored in, of course, the loss of life? Already 4 US soldiers have been martyred as far as this operation is concerned. I also want to go across to Charles joining us. Charles Kupchan is an international affairs expert. How do you read into all of the American statements that we've heard over the last 8 to 10 hours?
Well, I think the statements coming out from the Trump administration make it clear that they don't have a clear sense of an end game. I think the military part of this campaign is in some ways the easy part. They know what they're doing. They're going after leadership. They're going after the ballistic missiles. They're going after command and control. And right now, in some ways, we're in the most intense part of the campaign when the Iranians still have the ability to retaliate. They have chosen to retaliate against allies of the United States in the Gulf, in part because they think they can convince the Saudis, the Omanis, the Kuwaitis, the Emiratis to say to the United States, please stop. This is causing disruption to the oil flow. This is causing disruption to our ability to function economically. But in some ways, I think the reaction is going to be the opposite. You will see these countries turn against Iran and not put pressure on the United States to stop the conflict. And the question is, how long can the Iranians keep this up? How quickly can Israel and the United States eliminate the ballistic missiles? But then comes the hard part, and that is what happens the day after. Will the regime change its tune and the next group that leads it agree to work with the United States? Will the United States continue to bomb the regime until it falls and there is a natural uprising?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Shivani Gupta. Let's begin with a quick check of the top stories we're tracking. West Asia war enters day 4 as Iran continues widespread missile and drone strikes across Gulf cities and at US-Israeli targets. US President Donald Trump issues fresh warning to Iran, says the United States is shocked and ready to win big. As the West Asia war intensifies, Israel Defense Forces claim to strike Tehran's air defense personnel who were attempting to target Israeli forces. High-resolution satellite images show clear damage at Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura oil refinery after Iranian one-way attack drone struck, triggering fires and a precautionary shutdown. Iran claims to have destroyed main command headquarters at US base in Bahrain. US Central Command says American forces have destroyed all 11 Iranian naval vessels in the Gulf of Oman as part of strikes, reducing Tehran's fleet to 0. 2 Iranian drones struck the US embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, sparking a small fire and minor damage. No casualties reported. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the war with Iran will be quick and decisive, not an endless conflict, asserting joint US-Israel strikes aim for swift, overwhelming military success. And Sonia Gandhi slams Prime Minister Narendra Modi's silence on Khomeini assassination, calling it an abdication rather than neutrality. So even as we track the latest as far as this war is concerned and the killing of Iran's former supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, opposition in India has sharply questioned the government's stance or silence on this particular issue. Opposition leaders, including from the Indian National Congress, have said that speaking out is not neutrality but an abdication of responsibility. Sonia Gandhi wrote in an editorial that silence now undermines India's moral grounding and stressed that the country must stand for sovereignty, peace and clarity in its foreign policy. The opposition pressed the centre to articulate its position. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, remember, has underscored the need for restraint, diplomacy and peace in the region, reflecting India's traditional foreign policy emphasis on de-escalation. The conflict in West Asia has spiraled into a perilous new phase, with both Iran and the US-Israel coalition intensifying strikes and making dramatic claims of major attacks across land and sea. I want to go across to CNN's Paula Hancock, who's joining us live from Dubai. First up, Paula, I would like to get an understanding from you. So many of the Gulf countries and cities coming under attack. Do we have any sense of what is the conversation that is ongoing between these countries and US and Israel as we speak?
Well, Shivani, we know that they all had a virtual meeting on Sunday to create this coordinated verbal response to what was happening. They have been showing that there is unity across the Gulf nations. They talked about the reckless and irresponsible behavior from Iran, and there is real anger among these Gulf nations that they have come under attack, despite the fact that before this started, many of them had said that the US military was not allowed to use their bases, that they weren't allowed to use their airspace to carry out an attack, and they had been lobbying for diplomacy rather than war. But that has not insulated them from the retaliation from Iran.
We've seen widespread disruptions as far as flights were concerned, but some resumption of that from UAE and others. Can you give us a sense of how did this come about and what more can be expected in this regard?
Well, certainly here in the UAE, what we've seen over the last 12 hours has been a tiny fraction of what we would usually see here. Now, we've been looking on the Dubai airport's website, and it appears as though 24 flights have managed to take off. But these are flights with people needing to be repatriated that had tickets already, or potentially just repositioning the planes. There is definitely no sense that the air space is completely opened or that flights are back to normal. And certainly in Abu Dhabi, we've been seeing very little coming out of the airport. There are obviously tens of thousands who are trying to leave the country at this point and would like to get on these flights. The US State Department has said that all Americans should depart now. But of course, that is far easier said than done when you consider the situation on the ground.
And for how long does the US believe Iran will continue to or have the capacity to attack these Gulf nations?
They haven't been clear about that at this point. When we've been listening to President Trump, to the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, they're talking about how long they believe their part in this war might last. They've been speaking of 4 to 5 weeks. They've then said that it is impossible to be able to put a timeline on it. Of course, there are questions as to how long Iran can keep up this retaliation to the Gulf states themselves. We have heard from the IRGC that they are now going to be targeting American political centres. So they're expanding their target base from beyond the military targets, although it has to be said, it's not just military targets that are being hit. We've seen here in Dubai, hotels, city centres, airports, energy infrastructure being hit.
And others, because as you mentioned, it's not just US assets or military assets, it's also civilian areas under heavy attack.
Despite being in the Middle East, the Gulf nations have always felt this bubble of security. They have felt that they had this oasis of safety that has been completely and utterly pierced by these Iranian missiles and drones. These are not countries that are accustomed to having this level of military attack, despite living in a tough neighborhood. So the defense systems appear to be working well. Certainly here in the UAE, we know that well over 90% of the hundreds of missiles and drones that are incoming have been intercepted. But of course, for residents on the ground, it is a very worrying time. There's a shelter-in-place warning, many people taking that warning very seriously. Schools are virtual. People, in many cases, are not going to work. They're working from home. The officials just want people to be off the streets.
Yeah. And lastly, Paula, what is the US response and word on the ground over its embassy in Riyadh getting attacked, and any action that has been precipitated because of that on ground?
Yeah, so this follows 2 suspected drones that caused a small fire at the US embassy in Saudi. Now, we know that the Saudi Arabian embassy in Riyadh, we know in Kuwait. Those two embassies have now been closed because of the attacks in Kuwait on Sunday and on Monday. There were intercepted drones or missiles very close to the vicinity of the embassy as well. And now you have the Iranian officials saying that they are expanding their targets, not just military targets now from the US, but US political centres. Clearly, they are going to have to reassess the embassies across the Gulf.
All right. Paula Hancock, thanks a lot for joining us live from Dubai, one of those cities that have, of course, borne possibly the biggest brunt of the Iranian retaliatory strikes. Joining us live from Dubai from CNN. Let's also get you a quick confirmation of those US bases that have been attacked across the Gulf countries. Now, one of the reasons Iran has been very hostile to these countries, despite expectations, is because they do have US military bases, and that has never gone down well with Iran. So they've attacked the Erbil base as far as Iraq is concerned. This is a key hub for US operations against ISIS, of course, and other regional intelligence gathering. There is the Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait. This is a strategic staging ground for US forces in the Gulf, hosting logistics and airlift operations. The US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain was one of the first ones to get attacked. This is a command center for naval operations in the Persian Gulf, protecting shipping lanes and regional security. The UAE base is the Al Dhafra Air Base, also very, very important as far as this base is concerned. This hosts US air assets, including reconnaissance and tanker aircraft for regional missions. And then, of course, is the base in Qatar, the Al Udeid Air Base, major command and control center, housing bombers, fighters, and support units for operations across the Middle East. So far, of course, there is no permission to the US to use these bases. And even that hasn't changed, at least officially. But the presence of these US bases means that they have come under attack from Iran, regardless of the fact that these may be in countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE. Let's also go across to some of our guests who are joining us. Anil Trigunayat is former diplomat. Yossi Cooper-Wasser is Israeli intelligence and security expert. Tom Cooper, military analyst, will be with us. But first up, I want to go across to Adrian Fontanelles, who's the military analyst and historian, also with us. Lieutenant General KGS Dillon will be with us in just a bit. But Adrian, your sense of just how long these countries would be able to endure these missile and drone attacks from Iran. So far, they're not really saying anything publicly too much. There doesn't seem to be any great pressure being piled on US and Israel. But something must be going on behind the scenes, right?
Absolutely. So for them, pressure is mounting because so far you have to, as a rule of the thumb, you have to understand that perhaps only 1 out of 10 missiles and drones launched by the Iranians are actually reaching their targets. But they are spending their anti-aircraft and anti-ballistic missiles at a very, very fast pace, and they do not have infinite stocks of such weapons. So the stocks are diminishing, and once they are ended, it means the majority of Iranian munitions will actually reach their targets, which means much more damages than what it is actually done.
Patience can sometimes be the name of the game. Lieutenant General KGS Dillon, I'm coming to you with this. Some estimates suggest that there were about 2,500 to 3,000 missiles that Iran had stockpiled. And if they go by the kind of pace that they're going at right now, all of this could be over by Monday. What happens from there on?
Good afternoon, ma'am, and good afternoon to the fellow panelists and all your viewers. The way war is going, the war is going to get into an attrition phase. You know, when I say attrition phase, that means it's going to be a long haul. And any country which is involved in warfare or which is engaged in war will not allow their defense stockpiles or their weapon systems to just get to zero levels. They have the reserves at all levels, and they would make sure, even after the air defense is decimated, even after everything on ground has been decimated, they still will have certain, even shoulder-fired anti-aircraft guns and also other shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles and other missiles, which, which they would continue to engage the incoming aircrafts as also the targets which appear. Yes, the intensity of engagement will go down, but at no stage they would have that zero balance of missiles. That is how it works. And thereafterward will start the attrition warfare.
So can I ask
Just
you?
to give an
Yes, go ahead.
Just to give you an example of attrition warfare, suppose everything has been all electronic systems, all command and control elements, all networks, all missile sites, all air defense has been downed by US and Israel. Thereafterwards, a particular fighter with a shoulder-fired Stinger or a missile, anti-aircraft missile on a mobile moves from place A to place B without even a mobile on his body. How do you intercept him? Whereas he can intercept the incoming aircraft. So that is where I say it is going to get into an attrition warfare. And that is when the cost of war is going to get heavier on the American and Israeli side and lesser on the Iranian side. Unless you put boots on the ground and, occupy the territory and control the territory, which doesn't seem to be a very viable option because given the extent and the magnitude of the terrain, starting from deserts to the sea coast to the mountains, I don't think Americans have those many boots on ground, or they can put those many boots on ground to control each and every inch of ground. So it's going to be a long haul, and the war has entered into an attrition phase. And maybe at subsequent question, we can discuss, did America go in with the end state in mind and an exit strategy in mind, or are they now thinking about it?
We've been discussing that, General, since morning, especially because we heard from at least 3 layers of the US government speak through last evening and last night. But we're getting more updates now coming in. Dubai authorities are warning social media influencers and residents not to film, record or share videos related to certain incidents, particularly those involving security-sensitive incidents like the explosions that have taken place. They are saying firing, which is anti-aircraft fire, missile interceptions or related smoke and fire from recent regional escalations should not be recorded and posted online. TikTok violations can lead to strict legal action, including deportation for expatriates, fines and other penalties. Of course, I want to go across in our newsroom to our colleague also, who will get us a little bit more on this because, this is obviously always a tricky issue as far as all governments is concerned. When a lot of information is flowing, possibly not all verified, but it leads to a whole narrative being built online against countries and what is happening. My colleague Greha is also joining us here with us. Greha, what more are you learning?
Hi Shivani. So we've just played out that reaction, and this is what Dubai is suggesting, UAE particularly. Any kind of social media post, video, because people are so used to, in this day and age of social media, they are so used to documenting everything that they are saying. What they are suggesting is that the use of word firing is being misused. What they are doing is any kind of fire that they probably are witnessing, they are using that word, and that is being misrepresented on social media.
As if it is active fire.
Yeah, so they're talking about anti-aircraft firing or probably some interceptions. All of that has been put under this branch of firing, which is what they do not want. And they are saying that this is going to lead to severe penalties. It could also lead to deportation of the expatriate, for that matter, also heavy fines that they are talking about. All of this because it's the first ever attack that Dubai has seen. It has a huge number of the diaspora there, and they want to ensure that no kind of heft is given to all of the aggressors, and that is why they're ensuring that there is fair amount of capping on any kind of social media that is readily being put out as far as these videos are concerned. In fact, this is one post that I also like to put out on camera. This has also been public prosecution says completely here that any person who shares or reports content from unknown sources shall be subject to legal accountability. So they're taking it very, very seriously. Yeah. They don't want any kind of negative impact after these attacks really have taken place.
There have been some reactions, thank you Greha, online as well, of those who live in Dubai plus other some of the more prosperous Gulf countries and cities, is that there is a lot of panic being spread because of some of the social media commentary versus what they may be witnessing on ground. So yes, certainly some of the drones and missiles have landed. The success rate can be anywhere between 90 to 95% or maybe a little bit higher as well. But even when a couple of things drop, then it creates a lot of hysteria. But a lot of residents who are still there saying yes, they can hear a lot of sounds, yes, a lot is going on, but they don't, it's not as if everything is falling and everything is being destroyed or the lives are in much, much danger. Let's also get you some more breaking updates now coming in. Defense Minister of Israel, Israel Katz, has said that the IDF's move to advance to southern Lebanon is now intended to prevent direct fire on Israeli communities. He has further added, and I quote, "The IDF continues to operate forcefully against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. The terrorist organization is paying and will pay a heavy price for the fire forward from Israel." Sanjay Suri, my colleague, is in Israel, and we know of this second front that Israel is dealing with. Hezbollah fired a few shots at them, and since then Israel has announced that they're going to go all out against Hezbollah now. What more are you picking up, Sanjay?
This is very clear that it's Hezbollah that has broken the agreement. This was an agreement put in place in November of 2024, and it was an agreement brokered by France and the US, and it was intended to bring some sort of calm to the border. The way it was done was that in the north of Israel, what is called a blue line was drawn. The Israeli forces would stay south of that. Above that, north of that, is a buffer zone policed by a UN force and by the government of Lebanon. Above that is almost parallel is the Litani River, and Hezbollah would stay beyond that. Now, the other agreement was that Hezbollah would not attack Israel or its forces or its population at any stage, and that is an agreement that Hezbollah clearly has broken. This was in response to its, as it said, its shock and anger over the killing of Khamenei. Therefore, that being broken, Israel has in turn hit back. It's hit back Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon, and we have to say that the government of Lebanon, as separate from Hezbollah, is not entirely in control of what Hezbollah gets up to. So while the government of Lebanon can make an agreement and offer assurances, there's no certainty how effective these can be. So with Hezbollah now out of the control of the government of Lebanon, practically, Israel is now launching an offensive to not necessarily and immediately a ground offensive, but certainly some sort of rocket fire, missile fire. We've seen that already. And this is aimed to take out Hezbollah targets. If it remains confined to aerial attacks and missile attacks on selected Hezbollah targets, then the matter could end there. It's very possible it can spill over into something very much more if Israel were to choose a ground offensive into Lebanon to take out Hezbollah.
Right. So just stay with us. I want to go across to Yossi Kuperwasser, who's an Israeli intelligence and security expert. How do you look at all of these fronts that the Israelis are confronted with, and the response from the defense minister? He had said this yesterday as well, of course, that the Hezbollah is marked and their leadership is marked, and the IDF now continuing to operate forcefully against them in targets in Lebanon. They will pay a heavy price for all the fire that they have launched.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for having me. I think that what we are witnessing is a historical time. We have to make sure that we finish this job and get rid of the Iranian terrorist regime, and at the same time take care of Hezbollah and make sure that it is disarmed, that Lebanon regains control of the monopoly over the use of power from its territory. Unfortunately, this is not the case, and even the Lebanese government was criticizing the Hezbollah for what they did, and realizing that this is the cause for which Israel is now taking steps against Hezbollah that may harm Lebanese as well.
So is the Israeli government now talking about some sort of a ground forward movement? He's suggesting that this move to advance into southern Lebanon is intended to prevent direct fire on Israeli communities. This changes a little bit of the nature of the war so far.
Yes, this is a limited move on the ground, because some of the Israeli villages along the border are totally under the threat of the direct fire from Hezbollah because of the way the topography is. So we need to move a little bit in order to protect them. But it's something that is just a part of something much wider. We conducted many attacks in Beirut and other places in Lebanon farther from the border in order to clarify to Hezbollah and to the Lebanese government that shooting at us in this context is totally unacceptable. And this move on the ground is limited in nature.
Okay, limited on in nature on ground, but certainly Israel has suggested that they're going to go all out when it comes to eliminating all of these threats is concerned. I also want to bring in Mr. Trigunayat, the former Indian diplomat, joining us. In all of this, sir, one thing is very clear. This is not getting over anytime soon.
That is true. In fact,
Sir, I'll come back to you in just a minute. I'll come back to you in just a minute. Sorry for interruption. We've got some new images coming in, satellite images showing the damage at Iran's Natanz nuclear site. Remember, this is where US and Israel carried out fresh strikes on this facility, different from the ones that were conducted last year. This happened this weekend. According to Mohammad Islami, Tehran's atomic energy chief, they had also confirmed that the Natanz facility was indeed hit. So what is the satellite imagery capturing? This is Sunday versus Monday. So you can see some of the impact as far as the roof is concerned. I beg your pardon, this is January 2025 versus March 2026. But that is the full facility that is marked, and you can see at least the one from March 2026. You can see that the entire roof has been completely decimated. So this shows you the impact on the facility, the aftermath of the attack on the Natanz nuclear complex. We've got some more updates coming in. US Embassy in Israel is now telling its citizens that they cannot help them in evacuation. The US Embassy in Israel saying to Americans who may be in Israel that they cannot be helped right now as far as evacuations are concerned. This is the embassy in Jerusalem. They have said, and I quote, not in position to help in evacuations, and Americans must make their own arrangements as far as these evacuations are concerned. Before we go across to Sanjay Suri as well, my colleague who's actually in Israel, at least one of the fronts of this war, I want to go across to my colleague Christine, who's also joining us with more on this. In fact, let me go across to my colleague Haim, who's also here with us. Haim, this is one of those warnings that has come in from the American Embassy. Not the first time the American Embassy has told them that, you know, we're not going to be able to help you in the evacuations.
Right, and that as well, and also we're getting these latest satellite images that show, if we could just zoom in here, please, that show the damage at Iran's Natanz nuclear site. This, as we're given to understand, that the United States and Israel has carried out 2 fresh strikes. Remember, these are the pictures of March 2026 right now. Just zoom in here, please. This shows the damage that this facility has sustained. Also important to note that Natanz is one of the 3 facilities which the United States has also targeted in its Operation Midnight Hammer, which we saw last year.
As well. Let's also focus on the news that we're getting right now. US Embassy in Israel, in Jerusalem, telling American citizens that we cannot evacuate you right now. You must make your own arrangements. I'm not sure if Sanjay Suri is still with us. I think we should go across to him. Yes, Sanjay, your thoughts on what's transpiring? Are there many, very many Americans there in Jerusalem and Israel overall? And why is it that the American Embassy is saying they're not in a position to evacuate them just yet? How many of them are suspecting to be wanting to get out of the country immediately?
Well, as it happens, about half an hour back, I was speaking with an American lady who is here, and she says she doesn't even sleep on the bed. She sleeps on the floor in the shelter, and she wants to get back. She's feeling unwell. She doesn't know how to go. There are no flights out. And there are many like her, and there's a number of US visitors to Israel at any given time. It certainly would be in several thousands, and there's nowhere to go. Most certainly, an American today in Israel can't go and seek refuge in Gaza. So where does anyone go, American or not? You can't really go into Gaza or go into the West Bank towards the north of Israel or within Israel, depending on how you look at it. It can't be Egypt. Certainly, it can't be Lebanon. That leaves land routes, perhaps through Jordan. This is all very tricky. It's logistically difficult. It's very difficult for the US now, given its many commitments, to now undertake or even offer a program like this, some sort of a relief and rescue program for its citizens out of Israel. So we have some very plain speech from the US that they can't do anything about this.
All right, Sanjay, stay with us. We've got some more breaking updates coming in. Now, an earthquake of magnitude 4.3 has rocked Iran's Gerash area. The tremor comes even as there is this intense conflict playing out in the region. There are coordinated military strikes going on in Iran and also by Iran against US and Israeli assets. And in all of this, there's a tremor to the magnitude of 4.3 that has been reported from Iran's Gerash area. Sanjay, you know, this is of course, in some ways can pile on the misery on the innocent civilians. As of now, we don't have any reports of how much damage this could have caused, but 4.3 earthquake is also capable of causing damage on ground.
Most certainly, and the earthquake certainly has picked its moment, but this does raise other fears, and these are fears not that you and I will raise, but the International Atomic Energy Agency has raised that there must be a stop to attack on nuclear facilities, whether by the Iranians on facilities within the Arab world, and there are several facilities there, or the other way around, an attack on nuclear facilities within Iran. We've been speaking about, you were just informing us about the attack on Natanz. If there were to be damage to the nuclear material stored there, and Isfahan particularly is reported to have a great deal of enriched uranium stored within. And if these hits were to hit at that kind of
nuclear material and fissile material located in those areas, the consequences could be unimaginable. And if the IA has said that we could, in that case, in that scenario, be looking at evacuation of whole cities and even whole areas. This is the IAEA saying it.
Right.
There are warnings of the consequences of this, and we hope that this is just an earthquake and no worse.
Adrian is with me. Adrian, do you suspect there could be more to this, this earthquake, these tremors being felt because of the nuclear facilities being targeted by US and Israel as well?
Impossible to know because there are also regular tremors such as this in Iran. So I would say it is too early to try to come into any firm conclusion in this regard.
But your concerns overall of what the International Atomic Energy Agency is also saying, plus what US and Iran already have confirmed that they are going for those, whatever is remaining of those nuclear sites. How concerning is this?
It is concerning because we don't know exactly what it is inside these nuclear storage sites. And if you begin to have leaks, radioactive material which can be leaked on the outside, this could be actually a very, very dangerous situation for most of the civilian populations living around their sites. So.
Well, let's just get you a sense, though, of just how advanced Iran's nuke program is. And US has made no two bones about the fact that they believed that Iran was reaching a capacity from which it could have been a point of no return for US and Israel. They couldn't have stopped them after that point. So they absolutely needed to do this. But there are other things the US has also said. So there's a bit of a confusion. So the enrichment program, approximately 441 kilograms of uranium has been enriched to 60%. Over 9,000 kilograms total enriched uranium mass is the stockpile. The challenge is that the uranium needs 90% enrichment to be used as a nuclear weapon, and the existing stockpile is enough for at least 10 nuclear devices. This is what the watchdog's estimate is. Now, the confusion only is exactly at what stage of this enrichment is Iran in. Whether it was only at 60%, as the original estimate said, whether they had reached greater numbers, 70, 80%, how much of it had been taken to 80%. All of these were really the question, which is why US and Israel believe they absolutely critically had to attack. But what the US has also accepted is that they knew Israel was going to attack, so they had no other option but to join in because they knew US assets will come under attack. This is exactly the statement by Secretary Rubio, which has been used by the Foreign Minister of Iran, Araghchi, to say, see, you fell for Israel first policy. You have been pulled into a willful war that you needn't have been part of. And this is, of course, something that has become a big bone of contention as well. So the big issue right now is nobody really has a very clear sense of exactly where Iran was in its nuclear program, enrichment program. US says that they were not getting satisfactory responses from Iran of abandoning this program. But other sources indicate otherwise as well. An important aspect of this action in Iran and the elimination of Ayatollah Khamenei is also how the women of Iran feel and have reacted. Let's get you some of the reactions from around the world. Iran's women's national football team made headlines after not singing the national anthem during their Asian Cup opener against South Korea, a gesture widely being viewed as quiet defiance. All of the players on the pitch, even those who were part of the support staff, coach, etc., none of their lips were moving. They were not singing the national anthem as generally you would expect athletes to do when they are on ground. There were smiles all around, maybe even wry smiles, but no one was singing the national anthem. And many have read this into as a quiet resistance, especially by the women of Iran. Beyond the field, women across the Iranian diaspora have been reacting strongly to the development following Khamenei's death. Rita Pinahi is a Sky News Australia host who escaped Iran as a child. She delivered a scathing message to Khamenei after he was killed in the Israeli strikes. All I have to say is that after 47 years of Islamist tyranny, she says, the dictator is dead and Iran is on the verge of being liberated. Never thought I would see the day in my lifetime, she added. She also used a few choicest words for Khamenei on air in live presentation. This is one of the messages that has gone viral since.
I want to conclude this editorial with this message to the late Supreme Leader. Pedar sag, khak be saret, besuz to Jahannam. Rowan.
Couldn't have put it better myself, Rita. James, don't you agree? I mean, I'm absolutely...
I don't have anything to add to that. That's it.
Only repeat one part of what she said. She said, burn in hell to the deceased former supreme leader. Now, a widely shared image of a young Iranian woman using a burning portrait of Supreme Leader Khamenei to light a cigarette had gone viral as a symbol of defiance in Iran's latest protests in January. And now, the same woman was seen cheering the news of Khamenei's death as announced by Trump. There were large-scale celebrations, in fact, in Canada, where she is, with men and women of Iran alike coming out on the streets in a concert-like atmosphere, singing and dancing. This is another prominent Iranian activist now based in USA who showed her feelings over the news. Just listen in.
Every morning I wake up reading that my people being killed by Ali Khamenei, but this is the first morning in my life that I get the good news and I want to run. I want to run. I want to run. I want to run. I want to just run. I want to just run and shout and shout and shout out of joy, out of joy, out of joy, out of joy.
Ali Khamenei is dead! Free Iran! Free Iran! Dictator Ali Khamenei is dead!
This is another video of a woman who couldn't control her tears over the news of Khamenei's killings.
Ali Khamenei!
Khamenei رو زدن! فرزاد خامنه‌ای رو زدن! خامنه‌ای رو زدن!
And look at these visuals of Iranians and others in a celebratory march in LA in USA, praising President Donald Trump and dancing on the streets with posters of Trump and Netanyahu. This was, again, a carnival-like atmosphere in many cities in USA. In fact, in many places in America, the Trump dance has gone viral as well. This was YMCA, of course, playing. And for many in India, The contrast isn't lost on anyone. While women around the world, not just Iranian women, but of all nationalities, celebrated Khomeini's killing, women in India, and particularly in Jammu and Kashmir, were seen wailing and crying over his death. What more can we say? As politics back home in India escalates, BJP sources are responding to the criticism that has come in from former chief of the Congress party, Sonia Gandhi, of the Indian government's stance. BJP saying that in 2011, when Muammar Gaddafi was killed during the Libyan uprising, the Congress-led UPA government did not issue a formal condolence. Neither did it mount any dramatic condemnation. Where was Sonia Gandhi then? The BJP sources say that Gaddafi was killed fleeing a NATO bomb strikes. The UPA government said nothing at that time. So is it hypocrisy to be demanding a strong condemnation or a condolence message for Khomeini now? India had strong ties with Libya then too, with 7 ministers, including Pranab Mukherjee of the Congress party, visiting the country between 2004 and 7. My colleague Payal is joining us with more on this. It's not just this incident of Gaddafi, Payal. There are many such incidences which can be pointed out to the fact that when it suits your national interest, sometimes less is more.
Foreign policy and diplomatic ties are always decided on the basis of national interest. It is not a shoot and scoot. It is neither, whims and fancy that come at play as well. That is a lesson that the BJP really wants to teach the Congress party when the Congress party is trying to follow the fact that there has been no condemnation of the killing of the Israel Supreme Leader. The BJP, in fact, citing examples, Shivani, clearly saying that in 2012, when there was a blast which took place at the Israel embassy, there was no crying over it, and eventually turned out to be a job of the Iranian that had done it as well. So the BJP says that they are completely in the interest of the nation, and that's paramount. It is not that national policy or foreign policy can be decided on the basis of likes and dislikes, and there is no selective targeting of anybody. That's how this government has been functioning for the last 12 years. Remember, this is coming after Sonia Gandhi wrote in an article this morning condemning the government of the day, saying they will not show they've already picked a side and they did not show any remorse on the killing of Khomeini. So that's the answer that has been given to them. Facts have been put out by the BJP, essentially to show Congress and Sonia Gandhi in particular, mirror, and essentially say that when that episode took place in 2011 involving Gaddafi's case, where was Sonia Gandhi? Why were there not tears that were shed then?
All right. Looks like this political battle will continue. We'll keep coming back to you for more, Payal. Time for a very short break right now. News and updates will continue in just a bit.
Who, what, where, when, why. You see the bits, I see the whole. To know the inside story on Iran, get with me inside the bunker. Only on CNN News 18.
The 18 exclusive, flashing the details on your screens, viewers. We're learning, as per sources, Saudi Arabia has also sought Pakistan's military assistance. So Pakistan pledging full support under the Pak-Saudi Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement. Top sources breaking down all these inputs for us. What this means in terms of the larger conflict that's playing out. I do want to bring in Anand Narasimhan into the conversation. Hi, Anand. Anand, what does this mean? Is it just limited to the defense pact signed between the two and how they've committed that one act of aggression against the one is going to be treated as one against both?
Well, Good afternoon to all our viewers. Actually morning, but it's just that we've been working round the clock here. But let's understand, Pakistan is caught in a bind. On the one hand, they are expressing solidarity with the Iranians. On the other hand, they are sending across their AWACS, they're sending across their J-17s, and they're doing sorties to try and patrol that area at the behest of the Saudis, because they have committed to the Saudis that your war is my war and my war is your war. That's the kind of pact that they had signed. Little did they know that rather than using the Saudis or against Bharat, Pakistan will have to now turn up against Iran. So their JF-17s may be acting on behalf of Saudi Arabia against the Iranians, while their Prime Minister is standing up there and saying, hey, listen, we express solidarity with the Khamenei regime and with the IRGC. So that's how duplicitous Pakistan is. But we have to understand that the Pakistanis are stretched thin. They have a fight going on against the Afghans. The Afghans send loitering munitions to the Noor Khan base and to some of their other bases. They're stretched in Balochistan because they don't know what's happening there. The BLA is running them dry. And on the other hand, they are worried if Bharat does any military exercise on its eastern borders, what are they going to do? So the Pakistanis are stretched thin, and now they have had to deploy resources because the Saudis have said, listen, you signed the agreement, come on, back us up.
Where does this put them with the United States? What's that equation going to look like?
Well, the US, anyway, you saw what just now President Trump has said about Zelensky, and we know what President Trump thinks about.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with CNN News 18. We are here tracking every development from the war-ravaged Middle East and also the Gulf. We have to also understand that 10 million Indians reside or have gone there as tourists as far as the Gulf region is concerned. So that is a concern for the Indian government. And in this time of crisis, India's primary focus continues to be on its citizens that are stuck in these war-hit nations, especially Iran, United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, among others. Now, currently, about 9,000 to 10,000 Indian nationals, including students, workers, pilgrims, tourists, business persons and seafarers, reside across these 16 provinces in Iran alone. Now, several evacuation flights are beginning to land in the national capital. This is happening on a daily basis. Remember, we broke that story last evening itself, where we were speaking about how certain flights or in a limited capacity have started to move out of Dubai, particularly Emirates and Fly Dubai. The Ministry of External Affairs has also issued advisory for Indians that are stuck in Iran and also the Gulf nations. Embassies in Tehran and Tel Aviv have also been activated. They have put out their 24/7 helpline to provide immediate assistance to anyone in need of urgent help.
दुबई से यात्री लौटना शुरू हो गए हैं। कुछ यात्री यहाँ पर पहुँचे हैं।
28 को हम लोगों को वापस आना था, तो ये फ्लाइट कैंसिल हो गई। देन वी हैड टू एक्सटेंड आवर स्टे देयर।
कैसा वहाँ पर माहौल था, आपने देखा वहाँ पर डर लगा आपको जब, क्योंकि दुबई में अभी भी खबरें आ रही हैं कि वहाँ लगातार अटैक।
28 और फर्स्ट को थोड़ा डर का माहौल था, उसके बाद धीरे धीरे सिचुएशन थोड़ा बेटर होती रही और जैसी बेटर हुई इंडिया ने हमें वापस
लगातार मिसाइल अटैक हो रहे हैं, इंटरसेप्शन की वो खबरें विजुअल आ रहे हैं, वो देखा?
यस इंटरसेप्शन हो रहा है, ज़्यादा डर का माहौल नहीं है, वैसे सब चीज़ें ऑपरेशनल हैं तो ठीक है।
आप घूमने गए थे वहाँ पर, क्या 4 दिनों का अनुभव कैसा रहा आपका? आप बताइए वहाँ पर क्या आपने देखा?
नहीं, अच्छा अनुभव रहा। मतलब डर तो था, वहाँ पे धमाकों के जो आवाज़ें आ रही थी उसमें डर लग रहा था, लेकिन बाकी सब ठीक था।
दुबई में थे, अबू धाबी में थे, वहाँ कैसे हालात हैं अभी?
दुबई में हम जब तक थे बहुत अच्छे से हमने एंजॉय किया। अबू धाबी हम जब पहुँचे तब 28 को, तब वहाँ पर ये स्टार्ट हुआ था शाम को।
तो ऐसी नौबत आई कि आपको छुपना पड़े, बंकर में जाना पड़े, पार्किंग में जाना पड़े, इस तरह से कुछ?
में हम लोगों का इंतजाम उन्होंने किया था, क्योंकि और वो भी इसलिए क्योंकि हम लोग डर रहे थे।
कितनी देर तक आप पार्किंग में रुके मैम?
ऑलमोस्ट 3 घंटे।
3-4 घंटे। अच्छा, वहाँ अब फ्लाइट को लेकर कुछ मन में शंका थी कि कब हम भारत जाएंगे?
वो तो बार कैंसिल हो रही थी। हमारी पहले स्पाइस जेट की थी तो वो कैंसिलेशन ही दिखा रहे थे, और फिर हमने एयर इंडिया से फिर कल रात को ही फ्लाइट कराई है। तो उसके बाद हम वहाँ पर आने के बाद भी काफ़ी अलार्म बजते रहे और डर लग रहा था कि, क्योंकि वो बार कह रहे थे कि आप खाली करो एयरपोर्ट।
भारत आकर कैसा लग रहा है?
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है।
Some of those people there heaving a sigh of relief, and one of those were JDS MLC Bhoje Gowda, who was among the stranded Indians in Dubai. He, in fact, slammed the Indian embassy for failing to help the Indians who had been stranded, particularly in West Asia. And then he went on praising Dubai authorities for their cooperation. Also thanked Karnataka government for arranging his stay and opening helplines for Kannadigas. Listen into this conversation.
You were stranded in Dubai when the war broke out, and how was your experience like? What did you get to witness there?
I am a transit passenger, Emirates transit passenger. By that time I struck down in the Dubai due to this. Almost I will sit in the open the boarding pass and I sit in the flight. After sitting more than 1.5 hours I waited. The pilot finally said that some Abu Dhabi has bomb hit has taken place. The route is not permitting. Our Chief Minister Siddaramaiah ji and Parmeshwar, Home Minister and H.K. Patil, everybody has spoken to me. How are you, all these things? They are inquiring me about these things. I told that some of the people who are Kannadigas are come here and I don't know what their position. Please open your helpline and do something.
Let me take this across to my colleague Anvit Srivastav. He's tracking every detail of the passengers, the repatriates who are coming back. In fact, those repatriation flights are constantly being made functional, particularly after a lot of impact has been witnessed in airports like the Dubai International and the Al Maktoum Airport. Anvit there getting us all of those details. Anvit, any more flight details that we know of and people coming back, particularly to the national capital?
Well, at least 10 flights of Indigo are expected to depart today and then bring back stranded Indians. And SpiceJet has also come in and they are also operating some relief flights. And this is after the intervention of Ministry of Civil Aviation. They have asked certain airlines to operate relief flights. Some scheduled flights are also coming in, like yesterday an Etihad flight had come in, which was a scheduled flight on which passengers had to book themselves. However, these are relief flights. Recently, one of the persons who was in Dubai, he had, however, left on 27th of February. He is with us just to let us know what the kind of situation is there. सर आपका बिजनेस है दुबई में?
यस आई हैव माय बिजनेस.
कब निकले आप वहाँ से? क्या अनाउंसमेंट वगैरह हुई थी गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से? क्या डायरेक्शन?
27 तारीख को हम वहाँ से निकले जब ऑनलाइन पे हमें देखने को मिला कि मल्टीपल जगह से मैसेज आ रहा है कि ईरान अभी छोड़ना चाहिए, तो थोड़ा गट फीलिंग आया कि जस्ट नियर बाय है दुबई, तो आई फील सेफ कि मैं फ़्लाइट लेके चले जाऊँ. तो फिर मैं श्रीलंका में मेरा एक बिज़नेस मीट था, मैं वहाँ पे एक दिन गया, वहाँ पे रुक के फिर मीटिंग ख़त्म करके फिर मैं अभी इंडिया आ रहा हूँ.
Also, see, this is the flight information board, and you can see multiple flights from destinations like Dubai, also from Abu Dhabi, and they remain cancelled. So, number of flights are cancelled. If we talk of even today, the data of today, 36 departures and 44 arrivals are cancelled at Delhi airport, and same is total 107 flight movements are affected in Mumbai today. So, these are the number of flights that are affected. But at the same time, government has come out and told airlines to ensure that there are relief flights so that people who are stranded in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and